So I've just done a little link in the Shipping News number 15. You'll see there's a piece here about how Mark Johnson, who used to be known as one of New Zealand's top meth cooks, is now on the lam. Basically, he's being chased by the DA. Somehow he managed to escape. Which, if you remember the case of Sir Brian Thomas, owned the Lone Wolf, but the boat was quite often confused with the vessel involving the Scott Watson and Olivia. The Ben Smart and Olivia Hope case, who also managed to kind of get out of prison when he shouldn't. But anyway, but we're actually not unrelated, because the whole point of this video today is we've got the link there and we're showing you some of the background politics of the bigger picture behind the coke trade itself, and we link it back to Dubai, which has become in recent years one of the basically top people running the crime scene in the Australia. We placed outmaneuvered a lot of the Lebanese, or actually originated from the Lebanese, but outmaneuvered the Greek and the Italian families, who kind of largely established a lot of organised crime and went all the way back to kind of like pre-World War II, from the dockers and workers, from contraband to then became narcotics and blah 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 blah. However, this is the thing that's got my attention, is that right now, if you're looking at Sydney and Melbourne, like the gang war has just gone absolutely nuts. And there's also quite a bit of information that the police are one step ahead of the gangs at this particular point. Case in point, an attempted hit that was going to go, 3 people attempting to take out somebody in front of a kindergarten, and the cops got there well in time. And then there's this recent case where the guy just gone on a rampage, and the cops got like right on top of him. Well, not right on top of him, but they were pretty swift to act. Would indicate it's all a bit like Phantom Secure, where basically, bad guys went and bought phones, not realising that they're encrypted phones. The guy who, selling them for them had flipped, and was now actually basically they were giving all their hard-earned secrets to the top of the food chain, or the police. And this is what looks like it's happened with this $600 million bust that's taken place in Australia. And this is, I think, partly why we're seeing so many gangs and just really crazy erratic stuff breaking out of Sydney and Melbourne, because people are expecting cargoes, there's promises to be made, debts to be paid, and now the food chain has blown apart, and it's just absolutely set the cat amongst the pigeons. And of course, one of the factors involved in all that is that, the sheer volume of this is, it's $600 million, which is basically $500 million, and that's about half of what Australia consumes in cocaine in a year. So this has made a massive dent in the illicit narcotic, or at least the cocaine industry. And they said there will be consequences far and few between. If you actually remember my book State Secrets, I talk about at one point a courier, and I believe I know who that courier was, accidentally dropped a bunch of drugs off to the wrong address in Auckland, and the body count just after that just went nuts. And I think that's pretty much what we're kind of witnessing here. But it's a bit bigger than that, picture that too, because this gang war isn't just being confined right now to Australia, because again, the people controlling it are Dubai, and the same people that are controlling the Dubai, or for controlling the Australian organised crime or the coke trade from Dubai, are the same people that are controlling the drug trade in Scotland and the United States. Now, sorry, not the United States, Scotland and the United Kingdom. And again, if you're looking very carefully at the moment, there's been a big spate of basically crime bosses linked to that trade in Spain and in Scotland at the moment, and their families are busily like whacking each other. And of course, it all kind of reminds me a wee bit about another little thing that just jolted as I was going along, was I was looking at some of the Russian, Mexican cartels, and all that money would eventually lead up in the new banks. But I found a really good piece here by Ian Fraser, and he was talking about the situation where the Royal Bank of Scotland got itself in a fix because they got themselves tied up with sort of the wrong Russian mafia types of characters. And that's overall what we're seeing, and just reminding me that, because the Royal Bank of Scotland, ING, JP Morgan, I want to say ABN AMRO, but it's actually, I think that's ABN owns now, bought by ING, and basically about 2 or 3 other like Deutsche Banks, and again that was the Royal Bank of Scotland, again linked us back to Deutsche Bank. So it was always this case of basically what was happening, money was coming out of Russia then being filtered through Western Central European banks into the UK, Scottish, Irish banks, and then they would go through the Pacific and then find their way eventually into small Midwest, Wyoming, Denver, those kind of places, and then from there they would make themselves to New York, to those three main banks, JP, Citibank and Deutsche were the key offenders. And what happened to it after that, like, to be honest, that's a very interesting question which I don't know the answer to, but I'm just saying right now what I think is happening is this drug bust is all about that one single bust. And I think if you look at it at a bigger picture, go out, like draw out the macro again, I think you'll start finding some very big busts happening all around the world. But there's another side going on about this, which it's just kind of like just on the tip of my tongue, but it seems like there's almost like an encouragement for these gang situations to take place. So again, it gives the police and authorities more power, and yeah, there's just something. There's a theory where there's an unnecessary level of unnecessary violence that's taking place in all these, which could have been nipped in the bud. And I'm just asking basically why it actually hasn't. But anyway, that's just a little video to go with that piece there about Mark Johnson and the politics of the cocaine trade. And how that all links back into the same money trails that we've seen through the Nugahan Bank, the Winebox Inquiry, the Paradise Papers, the Panama Papers, the Pandora Papers, and there's a whole series of like links which like spread off from that. And I guess again, what's the bigger picture behind that is the war for the, not like, a bank robber will go into a bank and hold up a bank with 6 gun, and that's how the bank robbery's done. But if you're in the really big games, and what you're actually doing is you're engineering situations so that you can effectively take over entire financial operations, and then from that you can take control of the whole money flow, which to me again is one of the things that was happening sort of like preemptively around about 2014, where Putin had integrated himself with a lot of the oligarchs, and when the time was right, he made a move and basically took over large chunks of the dirty money trail, which largely upset a lot of the people that are now running the foreign policy. And it's again, if you look at my book State Secrets, in terms of the people that were doing this really dodgy stuff, and what their links were to the Ukraine and the seedier side of Ukraine and the seedier side of the kind of Russian Israeli aspects, that's what's all very, very interesting. And so the money, it's always that old saying in journalism: follow the money, honey.